Welcome back to Nightly Nonsense, where we try to figure out what is in your head. Did you know that there's a game out there that really has this guy named Ned, and you have to reach into his head and you have to figure out things? We have the real live version of that here down at Jurash Ministries, down at the center. You are welcome to come down and play the live version of what's in Ned's head, right? Listen, Nightly Nonsense, we've been talking about people who waited. Let me let you in on a little secret. Every major character in the Bible waited. Everybody waits. Do you know why they wait? Because God announces something hundreds of years before it happens. Right? We can pick tons and tons of stories. I've talked about this with the story of Joseph, talked about this in Moses. I was just preaching about Moses. Do you know that God seems to like this number 400? Hey, let me announce to you that this is going to happen, and then 400 years later, let that happen, right? It's a lot of time. Moses knows what it's like to wait. First of all, let's start at the beginning of Moses' life. Moses was a baby. His mom raised him for his first 3 months, hiding him because there was this little decree out there that all boy Hebrews should be killed, right? So he waited to be killed, basically, for 3 months, just so we got that clear, right? And he wasn't killed, so then his mom could no longer hide him, so she put him in a little basket. And then Moses did some more waiting. He waited in the water until hopefully his sister manipulated it right enough that somebody noticed him, right? And they did. Pharaoh's sister noticed, right? All of a sudden, she gets the baby, right? And then, guess what? Moses waited because he sent the baby back to his mom, right, so that he could be nursed till he went to his mom, right? So again, he waited, and then listen, he got to his mom, and what did he do? He waited. He waited to grow up until he was about age 40. He waited and he waited. What did he do in that waiting? Well, he actively waited. He learned how to be a good Egyptian, walk like an Egyptian. That's what he learned how to do, right? And then one day he was walking like an Egyptian, and he noticed from his chariot, because that's how Egyptians really walked, just for the record, right? He was in his chariot. He looks down. He sees a couple of Hebrews fighting. And then guess what? He noticed an Egyptian first beating up a Hebrew person. And guess what he did? He waited. He looked to the left and he looked to the right and he waited to see if anybody was watching. And then guess what? He killed him. He killed the Egyptian, right? And then guess what? He buried the Egyptian in the sand. Now, listen, I'm not a rocket scientist. Matter of fact, I'm pretty dumb sometimes. But you don't bury bodies in the sand if you want to hide them, right? That's kind of a dumb idea, right? So Moses needed some training. He needed some training because he just wasn't really good at this whole leadership thing, apparently, right? Won some battles, did some stuff, became a good Egyptian. God's like, you got some rough edges, buddy. We got to figure this out. Let's get this taken care of. So Moses went into the active training program of God. Maybe you've been there. And the active training program of God involves one 4-letter word. Wait. All right, that's what it does. While you're training, wait. God's got a plan for you. God's got a place for you. God's got a purpose for you. God's got all these P words for you. But he loves the W word. Wait. So wait for the fulfillment of what I have for you. And while you're waiting, let's just have you do something, right? So Moses, he waits. But he doesn't wait where normal people do, like in a waiting room with a magazine or a book or something like that. He takes a walk out into the desert. You might have been there before, right? This really out there place that you've had to walk to. Elijah went to a place like that. Lots of people went to places like that. Jesus went to the wilderness. You go out, and what do you do while you're in the desert and you're looking for water? You wait, right? So Moses, he finds 7 beautiful women. And while he's waiting, there's nothing else better to do than to get married. So he marries one of them, right? And he waits, right? He waits by being a shepherd. And for 40 years, he's shepherdizing, which is a great word, right? He's shepherdizing, right? And he's learning how to be a shepherd, right? Why? Because God loves to use shepherds. God loves it. Why? Because in order to be a shepherd, you have to take care of things well. And you know what you do with sheep a lot, just for the record? You wait. You wait for sheep a lot. You wait for them to decide things. You wait for them to move places. You wait for them to go. You wait for them to drink. You wait for them. Do you know that every night I do my chores, and every morning I do my barn chores? I have about 30 animals, horses and cows, in my barn, right? Do you know that the vast majority of them I have to carry buckets of water to? Do you know what I spend a whole bunch of time doing? Waiting for them to drink. They just take their good old time, right? They don't gulp down the water. They drink a little bit, and then they drink some more, and then they drink some more, and then they might want another pailful. And it's just a waiting period. So Moses is waiting. He's waiting, and one day he's walking around just humming his little song, right? And he's just taking care of sheep, and everything's great. And then he sees a burning bush. Now he doesn't know that the burning bush moment is God saying, "Done waiting," right? But he walks to the burning bush, he figures it out, and God's like, "You're out of the training program." Now, most of us are like really excited about graduation day. We're super excited about being done, moving on, doing the great things of life. But not Moses, man. He wants somebody else to do it. So he has a chance to be done waiting, but he's not liking his chance, right? He doesn't want to be done waiting. You know what the problem with waiting is? Sometimes we wait, and we wait, and we wait, and then we get used to waiting. We get into a routine of waiting. And we kind of like the waiting routine. We know it. It's familiar. All right? We're just like, let me wait a little longer. Let me wait a little more. I can handle this a little bit more. And then God says, "No, you're done waiting. Let's be done waiting." And you're like, no, let's wait a little longer. Listen, Moses spent a lot of time waiting. I think I just laid that out for you. Right? He goes to Pharaoh, and what does he do? He waits for God to move and work for the people to be free. Then he walks out in the desert with a bunch of people, 1 million or so people, right? And he gets to the edge of the Red Sea, and what's he do? He waits. God tells him to camp for the night. Wait while an army's coming at you. Then he waits for God to work. Then he walks into the wilderness. Guess what? He waits as 12 spies go out to spy out the nation, and they come back. 10 of them are really dorky. 2 are good. And then guess what? We're going to wait another 40 years, right, to get to the promised land. Moses knew what it was like to wait. Moses knew what it was like to wait every single segment of his life, right? Always waiting for God to fulfill the next part of the promise. Listen, it's great when God does it all at one time. It's fantastic when God just poof, and there it is. But that's not normally how God does. Normally he takes us one moment at a time. Wait here while I prepare the next segment. Wait here while I prepare the next segment. Wait now while I train you up for the next segment. Wait now when you learn how to do the next segment. Do you know that God he's not as concerned about you getting what he has for you as you being prepared for what he has for you, right? There are times in my life where I just want what God has for me. Might be going through that right now, right? Just want what God has for me. And God says, "Andy, it's not about wanting. That's not a bad thing. And it's already yours. You can have it as soon as you're prepared for it. Because if I give it to you before you're prepared for it, you're going to misuse it. You're going to do things that are wrong with it. You're not going to appreciate it as much. There's just a bunch of stuff, right? Sometimes God says, just wait. Wait until you're ready to enjoy it. Wait until you're ready to experience. The deal is, Moses at 40 probably thought he was ready to lead people, but he obviously wasn't. Moses at 80 had pretty much decided he couldn't lead people. It was just good for sheep. And God's like, nope, you can lead people. Right? Then Moses spent 40 out of his 120 years leading people. 80 years of preparatory work. 80 years to get ready to do what God called him to do. Right? So, listen, God's not withholding things from you because he's mean, terrible, nasty, awful God. That's people. And God's withholding things from you because he wants to make sure that you're prepared, you're ready. You know, sometimes we carry in baggage from the last journey into the current journey, and we don't even know we're doing it. We think we've worked through things. We think we're ready. We think we're good. And God's like, no, I don't want you bringing baggage into this section. Right? I want you to free to do the things that I have for you. Close out this section well. Do it right. We keep asking you the same question. It sounds like a broken record. What are you doing while you're waiting? Are you growing up? Are you being prepared? So, hey, I'm so glad you're joining us for Nightly Nonsense. Next time, I'm going to talk to you about what are you doing while you're waiting for someone else to team up with you. We'll see you next time. Nightly Nonsense.